Good morning, friends. It's David and Alyssa Muller coming at you again. And this week, we're talking about the three power trades. Today, we're going to go into a little bit more detail about the first power trade, which is to be coachable. I'm going to have Alyssa go into a little bit of detail to begin with because she's a professional coach and she has been most of her career. So talk to us a little bit about just being coachable, Alyssa.
Yeah, so being coachable, like we went on the last little like snippet of shorter version of being coachable. Basically, it's setting your ego aside and listening to what you're told. For many of us, this is a very difficult thing to actually do. We can say we're coachable all day long, but the actually doing of it has been known and I think shown to be otherwise. So really, really releasing yourself to being coachable. And I think the other thing that's super important when you leave your ego aside, that's number one. Okay, you got to leave your ego aside. If you question the path and or actions that are being told to you, then you have to check your ego. Put it at the side because let's be honest, if you had taken the path that worked, you wouldn't need to be in the place where you're being mentored of how to get somewhere you've never been. So that's number one. And number two, ask clarifying questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. I'm riddled with questions every day during my journey of coaching children. It's kind of funny, you can calculate how many times you get asked a question. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of questions every day. But the clarifying questions are the ones that are most important. So not the questions of why, or the questions of, almost like defiant. There's a difference between asking a question in defiance versus asking a question for clarification. The clarification is so important. One of the things, I do have one child, but parenting her, I did not parent her in the way of do as I say because I told you so. I actually gave a little bit of clarification in the direction and then waited for her to ask more clarifying questions. I think, every child is different. Every adult is different, as you can imagine, with everybody's different experience. But at the end of the day, the clarifying questions are super important because I think most human beings have to have some sense of I guess the do, like what actually is happening. And so I think that that's super important. Take your time, obviously super important to keep time as a boundary, but also a very, what time frame are we talking about? Because a lot of us want to learn like yesterday. And some of us need to realize that sometimes the learn may take months, it might take years. And for others, it might take decades. And that's okay as long as you don't stop growing and being coachable. Literally, your whole life will evolve and just become a better version of yourself and obviously meet your goals and your dreams. And then pretty soon it's going to be an innate, easy, like habit to have to always be coachable. So that over to you, David. I think I chatted enough about that.
So the other thing, like you said, take your time. Take the time. If you don't have pen and paper out right now, this would be the time to go and grab it because we're going to go in. We're going to go through a few more items besides listening closely to your coach or your mentor. Besides asking questions and being interactive, and take your time. Take the time to really grow. Take the time to go through the process. Don't try to get everywhere so quickly. Take the time that it takes. Obviously, you want to get there as quickly as you want to get there, but don't forget to enjoy the journey and take the time.
Yeah.
And then also welcome feedback. Your coach is going to give you feedback, and it's important to welcome that feedback and understand that this additional perspective is so powerful, and you want to be able to be open to the coaching.
Yeah, and this comes through loud and clear when you have a large ego. Having a large ego keeps you from being humble. It keeps you from honoring your failing forward. Ego is a pretty, it can be a pretty big obstacle in being coachable. And so I'll hit on this a lot in this section, because I think it's super important to always be open to grow, always be open to learn. And, you know, the title is the title, be coachable, you know. And then the next part of it is watch your body language. You know, a lot of times when I'm coaching, I can almost pinpoint now, after, you know, coaching for about 4 decades, whether a child or even adult in our tribe is actually going to do the do, because of the nonverbal, you know, the body language. You know, if you got your arms crossed, you got a scowl on your face, but you're saying, oh yeah, I'll do those things. You know, I can tell you, you know, your body language gives away every moment that you're being indecisive, you're non-committing, you're not being coachable. So, you know, think about that. You might not be doing it on purpose. It might actually be a natural reaction to being told what to do. You know, very few people like to be told what to do. The interesting thing about being coachable is that's what you have to do. You're being told what to do. And so you need to do that. So that's one thing. So watch your body language. Your coach, if they're a great coach and a mentor, they're going to recognize it right away. And hopefully they call you out on it in a positive way. When you cross your arms, it's been scientifically proven, you're saying, no, I'm not open. I'm not open. Even though you're like nodding your head, yes, your body is saying no. So very important on that. Open up, you know, recognize, you know, this way of approaching the same goals. You know, that you might have had this goal for so many different times, but this might be a new way that you're like, no way will this work. Well, being coachable is you have to be open to actually going that way. Because let's be honest, again, if the other way would have worked, you would have already accomplished it. David, you're muted.
That's so true. One of the other things about about being even more coachable is to value learning. I mean, I think I saw it on a show last night. It talked about the neural pathways, being excited about learning and actively learning new things, learning, you know, how to play an instrument, or learning a new language, or just going back to school, and just learning new things. Personal growth is one of the most effective ways to take care of your brain health. Your brain works better. It's a learning machine. It's built and designed specifically to learn. And so when you're learning, it helps your brain health. And I thought that was interesting. And I just love the fact that, and I've always loved learning. I've always valued it so much. And I think it's such a huge aspect of being coachable.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not a sciencey kind of person, and I really never have been, but I've been studying a lot over the last, I'd say 20 years of my coaching, and really understanding the neural pathways in your brain, and also the chemicals that get released, you know, which is a whole different subject matter. But your own self-talk and your openness to learn really is, if you think of it like a computer, you know, you're firing those pathways and those chemicals through your whole body to grow and learn and be okay. You know, the thing about fear, you know, I think a lot of people fear failure. A lot of people fear success. It seems so strange, you know, with somebody that isn't fearful of those things, how one could be afraid, but it's a legit thing, and every person is different. So when you're learning, you're actually overcoming the fear through the learn. Fear is definitely a real thing. You should not avoid it, but you should also recognize it for what it is. You know, so, and again, another subject, fear is one of my most passionate subjects that I would love to have about an hour to talk to you about how to recognize and overcome, and how to live your life by powering through it. But we're at the next section where it's setting goals. Goals, are super important. A lot of people, as they get to be adults, if they weren't trained in a way to set goals and set them measurable and realistic, so they're called SMART goals. You can Google SMART. It's an acronym. The thing about setting goals is by setting them, putting them pen to paper is the first step. But then after that, they have to actually be measurable. You have to be able to identify when you're going through the goals, if you're getting closer or further apart. And that's when the pivots happen. So setting goals are super important. You can't just be like flying through the night through your life, because you're going to end up feeling empty. It might be fun at first to fly by the seat of your pants and be like, whatever happens, happens. But I can guarantee you the human being in his existence from head to toe, it's not built for that. That's not why we're here. So setting goals with clear expectations is super important. So that segues to the expectation part.
Yeah, to have proper expectations. So here's the thing. There's something I call the degrees of success. Think of these as degrees. And what you want to have could be anywhere from, just being able to get out of bed to, having the, all the resources that you ever need to be able to do everything that you want to do. There's this range of what your goals or goal might be, right? Now, corresponding with this goal is an action or a lesson or some sort of activity that creates it, that makes it happen. Now, if your goals and expectations are here, but your activity level is here, then there's a challenge, there's a gap, and you either need to up your activity level to match your goals, or you need to decrease your goals to match your activity level. It's just proper expectations. You can't, think you're going to be rich tomorrow without doing anything to get rich tomorrow. It's yeah, just have proper
I only laugh not because I'm laughing at someone. It's really true. I know that there is a huge video going out decades and decades ago about The Secret. There are so many things that are excellent about The Secret. The one thing about The Secret that I did not approve of and or endorse is the lack of action steps. Yes, The Secret, super important. And here's the next part of our system and why we believe, the number one power trait of being coachable ties into this is being grateful. Okay, cultivate gratitude. That literally changes the state. It changes the energy. It changes your surroundings when you come from a place of gratitude. I'm grateful that I failed yesterday at accomplishing my goals. Like literally, if you really sit in the moment and honor the learn and what you're grateful for, like I'm grateful. I'm going to give you an example. And this is just made up, but I have had moments like this where I look back at yesterday and I'm like, man, I'm grateful that I totally did not check off any of my calendar blocking, none of my action steps. I didn't do anything that I said I was going to do. I didn't follow through with any commitment. I'm grateful I had that day because it left me feeling the way that I feel now. And I don't want to ever feel that again. So you see how that switched, instead of beating myself up and being like, man, I felt so badly. I'm so mad at myself. I'm such a failure. I'm such a loser. All those things that, that we all have been guilty of. Those do not serve you. Those things do not serve your purpose in life, moving forward, achieving that goal. What serves you is being grateful and honoring the fact that happened. And then why you're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. And so I think starting with gratitude, and let's flip it to the other, starting with gratitude for the things that you are grateful for in the moments of success, in the moments of feeling abundance, in the moments of feeling happy, being grateful. And first should be you. You should be grateful that you even started. Start there. You are your foundation. Once you start there, then start just sprinkling that stuff like pixie dust all over the place, being grateful and authentic and real. This is something you don't want to fake. You want to make it real. And if you have a hard time recognizing being grateful in the moment of not being successful, then just start with a tiny one. Like I just rattled all those things off. because it is easy for me now to recognize and be grateful for a full day of not finishing anything. But I'll tell you what, there hasn't been a day in decades that I've had that happen, but it did happen. And so I think being authentic is super important, and recognizing why, what boundaries did you set that you didn't honor, that you were not putting yourself first in that moment of your goals. So I segued just a tiny bit and pivoted, but ultimately being grateful changes the state. It changes the state of people around you. They can feel that you're not in a scarcity mindset. You're not in a negative space. You're in a positive space. And for the most part, people that are not like that don't want to be around positive, happy people. They don't want to be around grateful people. You're going to draw in the people that are searching for people that are grateful, that have a mindset of abundance, that have the energy of positive. That's when you truly start to shift. And you will recognize it when you've had a full week of, wow, I wasn't in Eeyore at all. I wasn't around Eeyores at all. This feels good. And you recognize, well, it starts because you started every day with gratitude.
Yeah, gratitude is so much more powerful than people really think it is. I mean, gratitude literally works like pixie dust on your goals and dreams. Literally, if you were to take gratitude and sprinkle it around like pixie dust, just like Alyssa said, it will literally. And if you don't know how pixie dust works, read or watch Peter Pan and see how the transformation happens when they get a little pixie dust. I swear to God, it's such a real power. And if you use it effectively and sprinkle it like pixie dust liberally, it will work like magic.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next one. So now that we're using magic, you might want to try being humble.
Yeah. The thing about being humble, it goes back to that ego, guys. Ego is super important to recognize. And when it's not serving you, you got to push it aside. I call it edging God out. That's the ego. In my world, that's what happens to me when I recognize my ego is getting in the way. And, being an imperfect human being, as we all are, I think recognizing that moment when you made a mistake, it's okay to say you're sorry and then actually take the action steps to actually be sorry and make a change. Being humble is exactly as powerful as that. Just recognizing that, man, being coachable brings me to my knees. Like I literally have to stop and say, I'm not right. If I was right, I would have accomplished this already. So being humble is where it starts. And it begins with recognizing your ego is the one that's getting in the way.
So the last tip we want to leave with you today is to evaluate your progress frequently. You've often heard it said about an airplane being off course 95% of the time, but miraculously, it still makes it to its final destination because the pilot is making these constant course corrections. He's constantly evaluating the progress, evaluating the direction. He's got input from his instrument panel, the co-pilot, the dispatch in their ear. It's always this constant evaluation. Always evaluate your progress. That's why we talk about the weekly GPS. We run 7 days at a time. The 7 days at a time is every week we check in with ourselves. We run this weekly model. And the GPS, we'll talk a little bit about another time, but the GPS it stands for Goal Progression Session. Check in every week and just how are you doing? Did I do the things that I said I would do last week? How's my budget? How's my schedule? What's most important this week? What are the other people in my mastermind? What are their main focuses on? Every week, just recheck, evaluate your progress, and readjust and make those pivots as needed.
Yeah. And in summation, being coachable is just about being ready and willing to learn and grow. Be open to growing. I mean, it's so important, and unlocking your potential so that you can achieve greater personal and professional success is vital. It's vital to us as a human species to continue to grow. I often tell people, or I've said to people, even starting at a young age, the moment that I have arrived and think that I know everything, please check me, because remind myself that I have said, and I live by this, that then I'm just amongst the walking dead. I'm not buried 6 feet under, but I'm certainly dead, because when you've decided you know it all, then you are literally dying. So with that, I mean, I'll have David kind of summarize the rest of it, but being coachable in a nutshell is what I'm obviously most passionate about. It's where my muscle is, greatest built, because I have been a coach the majority of my entire life. I've been alive more coaching than not, by 3 times as much, almost, well, 2 times. I'm older and wiser, but being coachable, I think, is a trait that is so powerful, and why I'm so passionate about continuing the journey of molding children at a young age, because it is a superpower. Being coachable is a superpower. All right, over to you, David.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we're going to close for today, but if you have comments about being coachable, about some of the things that we talked about, if you have maybe tips or tricks or some other ideas to help others be even more coachable, drop them in the comments. Share them with your friends. I'd love to talk about it. And also tune in tomorrow, because we're going to talk about the second power trait, which is be consistent. Consistency is huge. We're going to have a good time tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we'll talk about the third one. And also on Thursday evening, we'll meet at Entrepreneurs or Ultimate Achievers Happy Hour at 6 o'clock at p2k.tv. I'll get you more information about that soon. With that, Muller's out.
Wait, there it is. You got it right. I did this time. Bye, everybody.